Hello and welcome to this Prepare for IELTS Speaking video. In this video we'll look at the Part 1 topic, how to talk about your hometown or place you live at the moment. You will get asked about your hometown or the place where you live at the moment, so it is very important that you know lots of words and phrases to talk about this topic. We'll have a look at the types of questions the examiner might ask you. For example, what's the name of your hometown? Is it a big city or a small town? Describe your hometown a little. How long have you lived there? Is there anything you dislike about it? Do you think you will continue living there for a long time? Has your hometown changed since you were a child? Are there any changes you'd like to make? What is it famous for? You won't get asked all of these questions, but you might get asked some of them. So it's really important that you know some great words and phrases. Because fail to prepare, prepare to fail. Lots of the words and phrases in these answers will be also useful for talking about Part 2 topics about places. Often in IELTS Speaking Part 2, you need to describe a place. So don't just think these are useful for hometown, you can also use them in other parts of the IELTS speaking test. It's called, and it's located in, it's situated in. So you can use either located or situated. And both of these words mean to be in a particular place. So all I'm saying is it is in, but I'm saying it in a much more complex way, in a band 7+ way. So if I'm talking about myself, for example, it's called London and it's situated in the south of England. It's located in, it's situated in. So you need to think about the size of the place that you live. I guess it's what you'd call a relatively large city. So for example, if you come from Beijing, it's a relatively large city. When we use relatively, we mean compared to other things. So if you compare Beijing to other cities, it's relatively large. Maybe you come from a relatively small city. So not a big city like Beijing, but it's still a big city, but relatively small compared to the bigger cities like Beijing. So we use relatively when we're comparing things to other things. I suppose it's what you'd call a medium-sized town, city, village. So if it's not big, it's not small, it's medium-sized, it's average, it's in the middle, medium-sized. So think about your hometown or where you live at the moment and think about its size. How would you describe it? I'm giving you lots of things here to talk about your hometown. You're probably only going to say a couple of sentences, but the more you have, the better it is for your language. So think about the size and also the number of people who live there. It's densely populated. So for example, cities like Beijing and London are densely populated. That means lots of people live there. Densely populated. The opposite, sparsely populated. Sparsely populated. And this means not many people live there. So think about where you live. Is it densely populated or is it sparsely populated? You might want to think about where people live. Residents. These are people who live in a place. This is a great word for IELTS writing for both academic, task 1, and task 2, because you often need to talk about people living in a place. Residents. Most residents live in residential areas on the outskirts of the city. Residential areas are places where people live. So there are lots of houses, not lots of buildings with lots of offices. It's just houses, residential areas. On the outskirts of. So this means the outer part, the outside of a town or city. So in the city centre, you get lots of businesses, shops, etc. And on the outskirts of the city, you get residents living in residential areas. Think about what your town or city has. Does it have lots of shops? It's an amazing place, a shopper's paradise for shopaholics. These are two fantastic Band 7+ words. These are Band 9 words. A shopper's paradise. A shopper's paradise is a great place for people who like shopping. So for example, London is a shopper's paradise. Beijing is a shopper's paradise. Paris is a shopper's paradise. If you are a shopaholic, you are a person who buys lots of things. A shopaholic. Another great way of describing your hometown is a concrete jungle. A concrete jungle is a place full of buildings. If you look at the picture of the grey blocks, that's concrete, and we use it to make buildings. It's an ugly concrete jungle, to be perfectly honest. This is a great Band 9 phrase, so try to learn it. A concrete jungle. You could also use that in IELTS writing. Concrete jungle. We'll look at the grammar a bit more in the next video on work or study, but this is a useful tip for how long have you lived there. Use the present perfect continuous. I've been living there since birth, or I've been living there for roughly 6 years. I've been living there means it started in the past, but it continues in the present. You still live there. Present perfect continuous. I've been living there for roughly 7 years. This is great grammar. The IELTS examiner will love it. Roughly is a really useful word. You could use it in IELTS Writing Task 1 Academic, and it means about. Roughly 3 years. About 3 years. I've been living there for roughly 3 years. You might need to talk about something you dislike, something you don't like, and these are all great words for IELTS writing and IELTS speaking. Like all cities, there is traffic congestion at peak times, so I get annoyed when I get stuck in traffic. Traffic congestion is a traffic jam. There's very little movement of traffic or very slow movement of traffic. Traffic congestion. You often need to write about cars in IELTS writing, so it's a great phrase. Traffic congestion. Too many cars and there is a traffic jam. At peak times. The busiest times of the day, so when people are going to work and when people are leaving work. At peak times. To get stuck in traffic, the traffic is stopped and you can't move. To get stuck in traffic. They might ask you about the future. Do you think you'll continue living there for a long time? I'm hoping to go to. If you hope to do something, you want to do it. I'm hoping to go to the UK to study at a British university, or I'm hoping to go to the US to study at Harvard. I'm hoping to go. I'm not entirely sure. Who knows what the future will bring? I'm not entirely sure. Throughout this course, you will hear me repeat this phrase because it's great. It means I don't know. And often in the IELTS speaking test, you will want to say, I don't know, but I don't know is IELTS 5. You need to say something more complex. I'm not entirely sure. Who knows what the future will bring? What will happen? They might ask you about how your hometown has changed since you were a child. Very useful for IELTS writing task 1 if you're describing how an area has changed and you're given a map. Oh yeah, it's radically changed. To radically change means to change a lot. So there are big changes. To radically change. It's radically changed. Not really, just minor changes, such as minor changes, small changes. Both of these phrases great for IELTS writing. To radically change, minor changes. Are there any changes you'd like to make? Are there any changes you'd like to make? You need to think about your grammatical range because 25% of your grade in IELTS speaking is grammatical range. Try to use the second conditional. If I had the chance, I'd change the number of toilets, for example. If I had the chance, I'd get rid of cars in the city centre. If I had the chance, I'd increase the number of leisure facilities, for example, more swimming pools and tennis courts. The second conditional is great and the IELTS examiner will love it. To get rid of, to remove. And our final question in this video, what is it famous for? So think about your hometown. What is it famous for? Maybe it's famous for its food. Lots of places are famous for food. It's renowned for. If something is renowned for something, it's famous for. It's renowned for its cuisine. Cuisine is a great word that means food. Some of its famous dishes include, and dishes mean food. To be renowned for, cuisine, and dishes. So, as you can see, we've got lots of complex language. This language is great for part 1, hometown. It's great for part 2, talking about places. It's also great for listening, because you might hear some of these words in the IELTS listening test, and some of these words and phrases are great for IELTS writing. What we're going to do now is a quiz to see if you can remember some of these great words and phrases. What do we call a place that is great for shopping? A shopper's paradise. A shopper's paradise. What do we call a place that has lots of people living there? Densely populated. Densely populated. The opposite is sparsely populated. Sparsely populated. How can we say it's famous for its food? It's renowned for its cuisine. It's renowned for its cuisine. How can we describe this? I said it was great for IELTS writing as well. You can use a traffic jam or traffic congestion. Traffic congestion. How can we describe this place? It's full of buildings. There's not a lot of green spaces, not a lot of parks. It's a concrete jungle. A concrete jungle. How can you answer the question, how long have you lived there? Think about the present perfect continuous. I've been living there for roughly 3 years. So try to learn as many of these banned 7+ words and phrases as you can. You only have 15 minutes to impress the IELTS examiner, so you've got to get complex language. Thank you so much for watching.